reviewed by state council before they go onto the ballots?
Your
Well, the
warrant,
deliberative session you can amend to a certain extent, but you just can't add a whole new warrant article.
and that way what
And
you
you
do,
can amend, but you can't change the spirit, you can change dollar amounts and so on and so forth. But you just can't bring in warrant article number 28 because I feel like walking in on.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
No, they amended 2 warrant articles.
right, but you can't, and they amended it with, so you, in a sense,
Have we started?
literally, you had
No.
a, you had
We
a
haven't
road committee for
cleared.
each warrant article, okay?
Being lectured.
It could be the same people. But the fact
Okay.
is, you voted in a road committee, and the statute is very specific. You have to follow the right to know law. And if you sit down and read it, it's clear. It's clear. We
Sounds
have
like it
a-
should be put on our agenda to sit down and read it.
We've already discussed
Oh, you
it. That's
guys
why
already
we're
did?
saying that we have to fix it this year. If we're gonna have a road committee,
It's
the
gonna be
current one has to
actual-
be abolished and a new one has to be formed.
It should have been done this year.
So, and for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everyone. On tonight's agenda, we have a continuation of the police chief recruitment discussion. Discussion regarding our emergency management director, deputy director positions. A road committee discussion on revising our 2021 paving plan. Comcast cable franchise agreement renewal. Annette State Forest timber harvest and some old new business. Finishing up with a non-public. Good evening. Do you have anything opening, John?
No.
Anyone? No? Jason?
No.
Scott?
No,
Alright,
nothing other than what's on the agenda.
okay. This will, open right up with our police chief recruitment discussion.
Now, is Lieutenant joining us or not joining us?
I didn't realize that
He had sent an email asking like whether so I didn't know if he was gonna try to join us or not, so.
I just saw somebody come out from up top, so.
Okay.
Yeah, that was,
which is why you asked the
which is
question.
why I asked the question if that was going to be
was-
non-public or not.
I was unaware that
But I
No.
guess,
You
Well,
wanted to
if
be
he
on the
if he
agenda.
walks in, then we'll go from there.
Okay.
I don't
Yeah,
think
if
I
he
don't think we
wants.
have to. I don't know if we would be discussing anything that had to be non-public. So
well, yeah, I thought he was talking about discussing an employee, but I think we can give him the option,
Mhm.
can we?
Yeah.
If he wants to go.
well, we'd have to
non-public.
find again. We don't know what it's about. So have we gotten any figures from that other company?
So, they did respond to me, yesterday, and they are unable to give us a quote at this time because they don't have the resources available to help us with the search.
Okay. So that basically puts us at the one option.
Right.
What was this first?
Yeah, so the first thing, that was the original proposal we got from
Yeah,
MRI.
alright. Okay.
Is this
Mike?
okay? Sit
Yeah. Oh yeah.
All right. How we doing? So, I guess at this point, the question really is, do you want to engage them and get this rolling? You know, I'm kind of sitting on this for about 2.5 weeks or so.
Mhm. I think we should,
Yeah.
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 I don't,
What's that?
I don't think we should.
No.
No, I think especially given the email come through today, that the shortfall of the school funding is gonna be.
I don't, but thing is, I don't, so we've just had 3 months of no payments to them plus a refund.
Right, but I'm saying that that money has to come from somewhere.
Well,
And it will, the only somewhere that there is the taxpayers.
Those taxpayers are gonna pay it come the next tax bill, no matter what we do. The change in their tax rate is going to occur no matter what we spend today.
I understand that, but I look at it from the perspective of the taxpayer. Yes, I know we try to make them aware. Look at your school portion, look at the town portion. But at the end of the day, you still are paying this much money. And so whatever additional cost we add on the town, and
But we're
can I
not-
finish, John?
Yes, you can.
That compounds it. The other thing, which I've brought up before, and I'll bring it up again, and I know you guys feel like my fears are unwarranted, but I think that the lieutenant has volunteered to step into this position, and the climate for hiring police is not good. For us to go forward to try and recruit outside when we have somebody who is, to me, it's like, what are we doing to ourselves? I know you guys have said that's the easy way out. But I think even for the townspeople, to have a new sheriff in town is just gonna be another learning curve, should we say? And so that's why I feel like, you say we've dragged our feet for 2 weeks, or whatever it's been. But I don't think it's dragging our feet. We're looking at this whole process and putting out money to have somebody help us to do this. And we have a whole boatload of other stuff. And we do have the option to go from within, and it's not like a
But
it's not like a lifetime thing.
I understand, but
It's today.
Then instead of us being able to go through the process and screen candidates as well as Lieutenant Abel to make sure that, we are giving him the town's confidence that he is the right person for the job and the best person for the job. And as far as if you look at the budget for the police department, which is where this money would come from, we are going to be under budget in the police line item unless something absolutely ridiculous happens.
And
So-
why is that?
Because we don't have the police officers to fill the positions. So we
goes
should
to
just
my point.
continue to go without, so we should just continue to follow that same path. To just, of not doing recruiting, not making sure, because here's the deal. There are things that we need to make sure get taken care of, and I'm not saying that Lieutenant Abel won't ultimately be the choice. But at the same point, we need to make sure that, we give the town the confidence that they need, that they have the best chief in place based on the police climate we have. Instead of saying, well, we hired because it's tough to get. That's not what I mean, is that like, well, why'd we hire
No.
that guy? Well, no one else is there.
No. It's
That's-
not,
that's really
because-
what you
because-
said.
No, because Lieutenant Abel is known in town. This isn't some wild card here. Yes, he's never been put in the position of chief. How that works will become evident to me. He's going to be, he's already accepted the duties of chief when our chief retires. And so why the rush? Why not try to get through this transition and transition out without having this thrown into the mix? That's how I look at it. Like it's just making it even more, I don't know how you say it, it's stressful for the townspeople, in my mind, I haven't talked with the PD, but in my mind, it would throw more turmoil into the PD, and 6 months, a year, revisit it. If it happens that the chief position is not a good fit for Lieutenant Abel, he'll let us know. I mean, it'll be evident. So that's all, that's what
And to me, we're essentially getting that even as Lieutenant Abel as acting chief when Tim, leaves on the 23rd. And it doesn't hurt anything to go through this process. I don't see a negative in getting a professional consulting firm to assist in trying to, qualify other candidates. And if there are no other candidates, that's what comes out of it, and we won't even spend, it's not like we're gonna spend that much money with no candidates. That's just the total contract to get us to that point, like the end point.
which was how much money?
Around, I think the top dollar was 9,000 for that.
And that's money
Yeah.
that's already appropriated in this year's budget, it's not new spending.
It
And I feel
is,
like
but-
it gives more strength to Lieutenant Abel in the chief position if that is what ends up happening.
We can feel what we feel. How does Lieutenant Abel feel? Does he feel like
So
it?
sure, I was prepared for this in-depth conversation tonight, and it might
It's-
be better off for a non-public, but,
Would
I
you,
definitely
if you'd
have
like,
some-
I believe the RSA gives you the right to say, I would like a non-public, does it not? Can someone help me out? I'm a new guy.
Well, I have some employee stuff to go over, anyways, so I think at some point it's gonna be necessary. We're working hard next door to try to hire people, and you have some comments to make about that, so.
Okay.
Good.
So we may be able to address that at the same time.
I'm not sure on procedure. I've been overwhelmed with Jim and Alan saying there are all these procedures in place.
So we need a motion to enter into non-public, and then which section you like to go under such.
Would it be a, section B?
It would be 93A, section 2A and B. The dismissal, promotion, or compensation of any public employee, as well as the hiring of any person as a public employee.
And it does say that the employee affected has a right to a meeting and request if they would like the meeting to be open. So,
So-
Mr. Cobb,
So,
Sorry.
I'll entertain a motion if there's such.
Motion to go into non-public under RSA 91A3, section 2A and B, the dismissal, promotion, and compensation, as well as the hiring of any person as a public employee.
I will second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. How's it going?
Good, how are you?
Good, thanks.
Was Scott telling him?
Yep, they're back on.
Oh, they're back on.
So motion to come out of non-public.
Is there a second?
Seconded?
All in favor?
Aye. Motion to seal the minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. And Chairman Talbot, would you let the people know the one decision we made while in non-public? We made one, who's
Yeah,
that,
we
we good?
made one decision in non-public.
Yeah, so we decided we have to offer to hire a part-time police administrator in the interim to fill the spot being vacated by Mary Fortier. That's all you gotta say.
Thank you for teaching us, Joe.
That's, evidently, that's not what I'm here for.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm sure you're here
I
to help.
appreciate the lesson,
Yes, to help us.
cause even though we steal that, I'd probably just run on and say everything. We'll just wait for, Scott to come back in.
Yep.
You just need a motion to come out of non-public.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
We did it. That way, we made sure it was
Okay.
recorded twice, and we notified the decision of hiring the part-time
Okay.
administrator.
Sealed?
Sealed.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So
So
the-
emergency management, actually, you wanna just skip to the road committee stuff, or how, what's our timeline? I already passed that. Was
Right.
anybody else sitting out there, like to talk roads, or?
It's just us.
I'm not sure who. Maybe Roberts, I'm not sure. So,
Did you have anything in the books for us, Scott, on the roads?
Yeah.
Just under tab 2, and, I mean, basically, you know, Peter and I had a discussion about, you know, Collins Road and, another subject on our agenda, which is the Annette State Forest timber harvest. And the state wants to use Hubbard Pond Road as the access for the logging trucks in and out to harvest 77 acres. So we have the base coat on Hubbard Pond, and it would seem kind of foolish to put the top coat on and then have logging trucks going over it all season after we finish. So the thought was to postpone the top coat on Hubbard Pond. The state will, you know, through their forester, will arrange for a bond to protect us for any damage to Hubbard Pond while they're using it. And post the timber harvest, then we can look at any damage to Hubbard Pond, to the base coat that we need to repair before we put the final top coat on, which means that won't get done till 2022. Instead of doing it this season as we had originally intended. The second thing, we were looking at Collins Road and the amount of work that needs to be done there still, and that's, you know, quite the project. And Peter and I thought it might be better to leave it as gravel through this next winter, to let it winter over, settle out, before we even put the base coat on it. So we can take the material that we're gonna use for the top, you know, base and top coat for Collins, and divert that to some other roads this season instead, and then go back to Collins in 2022 and deal with that. So the original road committee recommendations, you know, are in your book from the minutes of their last meeting, which was back, I think, January 20th. And as I recall, the selectmen were pretty much in agreement with most of what they were recommending. And Peter, on Collins Road, we had originally estimated cost to be about $300,000 to be funded from the warrant articles, and any cost overruns to be funded from the highway block grant. Obviously, we're expending some money just to do the work we're doing now. Approximately how much of that money would be freed up to be put toward?
Basically all the paving money.
So that 200 and, it's almost 215,000?
Yeah.
Alright. And the top coat for Hubbard Pond is 110.
Yeah.
So that's gonna give us about 325,000 available to divert elsewhere.
I wouldn't mind, can I make a comment on the Collins Road?
Sure.
Just an input, the north side where the connector is going through, down to Page Hill Road,
Mm-hmm.
that's about 12% grade. I think it would be wise to at least base pave Collins Road this
Just
year,
for erosion.
for erosion, cause it's not gonna be number one passable, as soon as there's any rain or snow on it. With the gravel at 12%, it's not drivable with snow on it.
Yeah.
You can't maintain it, it's basically gonna be shut off for the winter time essentially, and then it's gonna wash out, and you're gonna have to do rework, culverts, drainage, gravels. I think, binder only would hold it all in place, and if there's any settling, you could shim that with top coat if you had to the following year.
Yeah.
That's just my 2 cents on my experience with roads, but.
No, and sorry to are you
No.
Walker?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. I just did names and faces, putting them together. I read your email and I thought it makes a lot of sense. Like I said, I mean, it doesn't help. I mean, we're widening it and fixing it so that we can get emergency vehicles up there. And if we still can't get them up there in the wintertime, we've spent this money for nothing for another
You'll be
year.
graveling that portion again, and then you'll be in the same, it'll be a never ending, you'll never get it to sit in winter, I think,
Mhm.
necessarily all in one place.
Well, the idea was, even leave that as gravel, but chloride it. You put chloride on there, it's not gonna, you know, you'll be able to go up and down it just like you would any paved road.
Now, chloride, does that act like the salt where it actually can make it soupier,
No.
like where it won't freeze?
No, it's a different kind of chloride.
Yeah.
You know,
think
I've used it in the past on steep grades, never had a problem. The only reason I don't wanna do it, for prime reason, if it washes out, then we've just wasted base pavement. Right, you know, if it's just gravel, then I can take it out, put it back in the road, and if I gotta put other culverts in there, I don't have any cross trenches going through there and have a bump down the road, so. Whatever you wanna do, I'll do. You know, I'm just going by what
Yeah, no, yeah.
I'm looking at so much work up there, I don't think I'll get it all done, even that end. Cause I got almost 3,000 feet of pipe I gotta put in the ground. Plus widen up. From,
Alright, so you're not sure that you can have like all the culverts in place and.
well, vacation's coming, so I'm gonna be short-handed and stuff. You know,
Well, I mean, so it's a combination of the wintering effect as well as just not knowing, due to the scale of it,
Yeah.
that it would be prepared in time
Yeah.
to have pavement put on it before it gets too cold.
So what's the paver schedule look like? Have you heard from them at all?
Well, it
or-
all depends what you wanna do for roads. You know, right now, I could have them come do Mountain View, all I get is 5 culverts on Malthouse, and they can do those 2. You know, and all I gotta do is put 2, drop inlet boxes on Stoll and some pipe there. And you know, those 3 can be done right off.
Mhm.
And if you wanted to do something we were planning on next year, like, I was thinking maybe Academy and Porter Hill and maybe Playground and Laurel.
And that's it. I was thinking if we didn't do Hubbard and Collins this year, we could knock out a lot of those on that other side.
While it'll clean up a lot of the small roads here in town. that
Right.
Turknick maybe is another one, then I get a lot of truck traffic, and that's, you know, look like pothole city down there. So that, you know, I'm just throwing those out right now.
What's the current status of Collins Road, or where are you currently at right now?
Right now, I just started putting under drain in.
Is that connector portion done on the
Yeah,
north side,
Yeah.
Page Hill?
yeah.
You still have 4 months of paving weather.
Well, I realize that, but if I get a downpour like did today and a couple roads wash out, Collin Road's sitting there. I don't
No,
know.
yeah, I understand.
Well, I'm just saying, I got other things during the summer that could come up. I'm only looking,
Right.
you know, I just wanna be upfront to begin with and not come in October and say, well, we're not gonna be able to do it because of other problems, that's all.
Oh,
No, we're not gonna stop working on Collins Road, I
Yeah.
just don't think I'll get it all done.
so what about, would it be too late just if we looked at Collins in August to get an update from you, like where your
Well, right
actuals
now,
are?
right now, the contractor doesn't know, you know, they wanna set a schedule up.
So you have heard from the paving,
Yes.
okay,
But we should be able to talk to them and say, we're still planning on doing X amount of tons regardless,
Well,
and
that's,
3 or 4
that's what he
roads.
wants to know, make sure we're doing a certain number of tons.
Yeah.
yeah,
I
so
don't
we're
think-
still gonna do the same
Yes.
tonnage.
Yeah.
It's just we don't know where we're gonna apply it,
Wow, the only other thing is that these other roads can be reclaimed instead of just paved.
yeah,
You know,
paving, right? They usually pulverize and then pave it right behind them typically, within a week or two.
They do all the roads at the same time then, basically.
Yeah, exactly, so, it's not months of
No.
prep time for them.
No.
Who's the paver? Who came up
Well,
with
we gotta,
it? Are we still trying to?
Mitchell.
Mitchell? That's who did everything last year?
well, hold the same price as they gave me last year.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, normally, most pavers, if you can give a 4-week heads
Yeah.
up, they can
Yeah.
accommodate your schedule.
you know, we were lucky because the price of asphalt's going up.
Yeah, which is why we were willing to lock them
Yeah.
in, yeah.
If I provide the same tonnage, we'll,
Yeah, I think everyone wants to use the whole budget,
oh, yeah,
essentially, it's a matter of where we put it.
Do you think that's gonna be relatively easy to shift it off of Collins Road and Hubbard Pond and?
yeah.
Yeah, the paving value's the paving value, whether you kinda just need to, I guess we probably already have ballpark values for each of those
See,
roads. for those.
Playground Road is no culvert work, you can come in and do that, Laurel's the same thing. Trignic, it's no culvert work here, cause that was all redone when the bridge was replaced.
Alright, so Peter, what do you think the easiest way is to make the call early, or ask them, hey, we're gonna stick with the same, tell them, you know, can you wait through August? Because if you don't do this, we've got already these, and, so are you comfortable waiting and making that call to them?
I'll talk to them tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cause I'd rather see, I mean, if we can get Collins, obviously that would be,
Well, I wouldn't have a problem if we just based in the other end, going towards Page Hill and the intersection by Perry Road.
Mhm.
Cause the rest of it's been, how many years it's been gravel?
Right.
So, you know, we're planning to put 8 to 12 inches of gravel over the existing road anyway.
so are we good with just giving Peter the leeway on making that call as we need to
Well,
have
I'll
it?
let you guys know what the call is.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'd like to know what the paving company says tomorrow as far as timelines, you know, 'cause like you said, if there's like reclaimed road, like get a full picture for us,
Mhm.
like of what they can do, what they're willing to do, and then we can kinda make a decision from there.
Well, he told me he has no problem doing different roads, just as long as it's the same tonnage.
Okay,
As
Yeah.
long as it's-
And I don't think that's gonna be an
No.
issue, cause we definitely, we've got enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we got enough roads out there, we could give more tonnage by the
When will we not have enough roads out there?
Yeah, exactly.
Huh? No, I didn't mean that as
Yeah.
a joke, I was
Yeah,
like,
hopefully
seriously, I
soon.
mean, we've been doing this for some time now.
Yeah, but we'll get to the point now where at least where they're all rebuilt, where it's just, you know,
Just
then,
top coats.
yeah, top coats,
Well,
maintenance,
yeah, a lot of them's just, you know, Davis Village, for an example,
yeah,
ready for top coat. North Road is almost ready for top coat. And those are the ones we only put 3 inches on, the ones we're doing now, we'll put 4,
Hmm.
which is holding some of the heavier traffic going.
yeah, so the beginning of August, we should have a better idea, cause if we get ideal
Well,
weather and everything lines up
We'll be
right,
towards the
right?
middle of August, I'm
Okay.
gonna come back from vacation on the 5th.
Alright,
awesome, alright.
alright, so we'll look for that
Okay.
update in middle of
Yep.
August, alright.
Alright, thank you, Peter.
Yep.
Great,
Alright, so you good with that too, Walker?
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Okay,
awesome.
Is that everything for roads?
that's
Yeah.
it.
That's it, alright,
Thank
thanks for
you.
coming, thanks for
you.
taking the time.
Thank you for input.
Peter?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
have a
you,
good night,
Peter.
Have a good night. So, I guess we'll circle back to the emergency management director, deputy director positions.
Yep.
Did you guys discuss that at all last week?
Nope, we tabled it, only because we thought we had stuff in place and then you threw a wrench in it,
You threw a
So-
wrench in it?
Don't do that.
so.
This is more information.
Yeah, just saying, my recommendations would be, that we go with Mr. Maxwell and Mrs. Kazo. And, if Mr. Hicks still wants to be involved, using him as a mentor for them as they step into these roles would be great. No offense, Mr. Hicks has stepped down from the role, said he didn't want to do it anymore, he was more busy at SVAS, he's been a great asset. And that's awesome, and I'm sure we'll need his expertise. But I would rather see us step into some new people, taking this role on and moving forward.
And with his offer, to come back as director, I think it was to stabilize that, spot, so I'm sure he'll be willing to help and work with Eric
And, yeah, Eric, when I spoke with him a little bit last week, said we had tabled it because we didn't have a full board. He's like, well, maybe I'll give Jim a call. I said, hold off on calling Jim yet.
Yeah.
But he's willing, like, he's already looking, like he says, if he gets,
Jim know,
yeah,
like,
if he
where
gets
everything was
appointed,
at,
you know,
too.
but he was just saying if he got appointed, I mean, that, to me, that just shows, hey, I'm looking to the guy with the expertise to look for help.
Yeah,
So, if, Jason, did you have some
Nope.
discuss, okay. I would like to make a motion then that we appoint, Eric Maxwell as, Emergency Management Director, and, Deputy Director make the offer to Frederica Cazo.
is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'll reach out to Freddie tomorrow.
We've got a letter drafted up for both of them.
Thank you, Scott.
I meant to ask Peter
And,
a question. I was just looking, not that, I mean, I knew there was a question I wanted to ask Peter. So in the letter we got from the Annette State Forest thing, yeah, so it says this letter is,
what tab's that, Scott? Or,
it's under tab 4. So I just wanted, only because we just finished talking about the roads, which is what 4 says. It was sent, like, we got a copy of it, but it was sent to the select board, Town of Ringe. So I just found it very odd that they would
So,
reach out to, like, we would get a copy, even though they're not even gonna be going they're not going on Ringe's roads.
but they're gonna be in Ridge's town to do
Right.
timber harvest.
Yeah,
and-
but it's a
yeah.
state forest. I mean, they can do whatever they want, I guess. But
Yeah.
I just thought it was very odd. Like, why wouldn't we get a direct letter? We got a CC
Yeah,
copy with Ringe's select board as the thing when they're driving over our roads. They're gonna go in through our road and go out through our road.
maybe it was just because the property was there. And
Oh, I know.
yeah.
But it's matter of,
So
you know,
we're
if
secondary
that's
to
what
the
you
whole
want,
thing,
you know,
yeah.
then guess
Yeah.
what? You put in a logging road through your own state forest,
Yeah.
and then you can drive on Ringe's roads all you want.
Mhm.
That's a horrible road anyway. Prescott, I think is
Yeah.
that one that goes past Millipore.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
actually
Kinda,
Jaffrey.
yeah.
So that's a yeah. Because if you come out in that state forest, you come out into Jaffrey.
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, the entrance to Annette State Park is in Jaffrey. They're using New Ipswich roads, but they sent the letter to the Ringe Select Board.
I don't know.
I'm just it's
Yeah. I'm
We'll-
just,
we'll,
don't worry about our end.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So definitely
So, so Peter and I will work with these folks just to get a clarification on what they see for traffic. And if they're willing to put a bond in place, then we'll try to establish what we figure the value of the road is, much like we would in a subdivision, and
Yeah.
come up with a bond amount,
Okay.
Yeah.
see if they'll agree to it.
awesome.
Sounds good. So we have the Comcast franchise agreement.
Right, so, we had, a Zoom meeting with Brian Christensen, who's the government affairs rep for Comcast for our area. And, I had Lou and, Craig Smeeth, join me as well, and, Ron, Stanley and Steve Bolu were here, cause it has some impact on the video side.
Sorry,
sure.
Sorry I couldn't jump in.
Yeah, not a problem.
My pig pickup took longer than.
So, you know, we discussed a few different items, you know, some of the upgrades we're talking about to our internal video, and audio, equipment here.
Mm-hmm.
would require, to get the full benefit out of it, would require us to broadcast in high def through Comcast. Right now, we have a standard def channel. Under the original contract, there was a provision for us to request a second channel. We never took advantage of that during the 5-year life of this agreement. So what the thought is, in talking with Brian, is they are willing to incorporate a high def channel. He suggested keeping the standard definition channel as well, because there are still some people out there that aren't up to high def capabilities with their equipment at home. So we'd still end up with 2 channels, one high def, one standard def. So they are open to including that in the next iteration of this contract. The timing is what comes into play here. So the faster we finalize this, because this expires on July 18th, the sooner he can get into the way his budget cycle works at Comcast, the sooner he can get the high def channel up and running for us. He did give me an extension here, so we can extend this contract, because we are under a little bit of a time pressure. So they have offered us a 2-month extension, which would take us to September 18th. And if you want to sign that tonight, we can execute it. If you don't, that's fine. We don't have a contract in front of us. He didn't think that it would be materially different than the contract we have now, other than if we're asking them to make a commitment to the high def channel, that they would want it to be a 10-year agreement, so they could amortize the cost over 10 years rather than only 5 years like the current agreement. And 10 years is a
That's
pretty
more standard.
typical agreement. A 5-year is shorter than you typically see for a cable franchise agreement. The other thing we talked about is the fees. And originally they had $15,000 in capital equipment appropriation in this contract. From what Ron told me, and Brian confirmed, although Brian was doing it from recollection, he didn't have the numbers in front of him, we never took advantage of the full $15,000. Ron seems to remember we only took about 6 of that for equipment upgrades here as part of that agreement.
So where did the rest of it go?
Well, so what happens is just like everything else in the contract, it gets amortized over the life of the contract. So the fact that we didn't draw off that extra $9,000 is $9,000 less that was spread across all the subscribers, because it ends up in our bill, right? So it ends up in the subscriber's bill. So it never got used, and therefore it never got passed on. The full amount was never passed on to the subscribers.
So Sean, you got your wish.
Yeah.
Well, this whole thing
Yeah.
is mind blowing to me.
Yeah.
That a company can come in and I just don't understand it, basically get the rights to the town, and then we're gonna tax them on the backside somehow. It just seems like an odd just wash of money. I don't know, it's strange. It's just
right. So
bizarre. Do we do that with the power companies?
So the power companies we tax, right? So we get our tax revenue from Eversource and that way. So they pay in that respect. These guys are just piggybacking on the existing conduits and poles that Eversource already has installed.
Does this make it so that it's exclusive? We can't.
This is a non-exclusive. So
Right,
that's,
so it doesn't bind us to
so
just
that-
Comcast.
right, so if another cable provider thinks there's enough business opportunity here that they wanna, put infrastructure in this town to support, cable and internet and phone, they're welcome to do that if they think that there's enough non-Comcast subscribers that they can, steal off Comcast subscribers to their service to amortize their costs over the course of, 10 or 20 years, however they wanna do it. So this is a non-exclusive agreement. It doesn't prevent a competitor from doing the same thing, and the competitor would have to then share space on the poles and conduits, just like Comcast does, and that's something that they would, negotiate with Eversource. So the, I could ask Brian to, draft us a new version of this contract to review. One of the other discussions we had was the percentage, right? So right now, we take a 2% franchise fee out of this. So the total franchise fee, the numbers he had, we get about $7,000 a quarter, so we bring in $28,000 a year.
See, and that's where I'm at, is I would like no franchise fee, cause it's actually just increasing people's cable bill.
So, so right now, and we couldn't remember exactly what the split was, and I didn't have a chance to research it, but most of that, the Lions portion of that goes into the general fund. Another percentage goes to Ron's video account, which is how we've amassed $25,000 or so over the last however many years. And so that, we're looking at that $25,000 to do, the system upgrade here. And the other thing that we talked about is, we're paying Ron a stipend, we're talking about possibly paying somebody else on an hourly basis, when Ron kind of steps aside to come in and do video and support it, that would come out of that money.
But shouldn't it be done in a different way, where, like, we're getting the money directly from our taxpayers and they know what they're paying for, instead of.
But why should you tax everyone for the benefit that only some people are getting?
Yeah, because not everybody's a Comcast.
No, but not everybody has Comcast.
No, I understand that, but we still need Ron, like, in his services, like, for the purpose of, like, recording the.
Not technically.
Yeah. I mean, so the issue we're having, and Ron's point is, he's been volunteering for a number of years doing this, and it's getting, we've tried, put things up on the website several times. We're looking for volunteers to help with the video, and have gotten, either no response. Steve Bolo is the one who has kind of stepped up, and Steve is here to help us, but at some point he would like to have some sort of compensation for spending his time doing that.
I just feel like we should, like, the money should be gotten in a different way.
So,
like, this was new to me, like. It sounds illegal.
So,
Why is it illegal?
Like,
people
you get a private company, like,
so this
taking money, like, from their subscribers and then giving it to the town in order to run their business here.
So
But it's not really illegal, it's New Ipswich's tax on people who want cable. But we just don't call it a tax, we call it
It's a franchise agreement. It's
right.
it's a
This
service
is,
fee.
these are rules that are set up by the FCC, right?
Yeah.
Back
no,
in like 1984 or something. if I
So
recall.
basically what you're doing is, trust me, the cable company isn't gonna take that money off their bill. They're just not gonna give it to us.
No, but there wouldn't be that service fee.
They're not gonna take the money off the bill, the people are paying it. It's one of those things,
See, if the rate was X amount of dollars one way or the other, and they're just saying, like, we're gonna give you this for whatever, like, we wanna help support your system, like, if it was a little bit different, it'd feel better, but it just.
So this is, I mean.
I could just be, it's learning, John, like,
I understand that, but
Right.
it's, you're taking something, it's just one of those things like, if we had people banging on our door going, the town's taking $2.73 every month out of my money, then cancel your cable bill. That's real. Like, do you like cable? I love it, cable. I got HBO Max. I get it. Awesome. So out of that, the town gets $2.73 a month off of your house.
Yeah.
If you don't like it, don't buy cable.
Now, I have one question. It's an interesting thing, but I'm kinda changing, what would happen if we didn't renew this contract?
So, that, I'm not 100% sure of. So if we did renew the contract, then as of July 18th, Comcast would stop broadcasting to the subscribers
This.
in town. No,
All subscribers.
they don't have a franchise agreement, they're not allowed to use
Ah,
our right of way.
we wanna renew it for them, huh?
So, well, this is arguments have been going on a long time, and towns our size, typically you can't get two providers, because there isn't enough,
Not
Enough-
volume.
right, for them to justify having two parallel infrastructures. I mean, you go to a place like Boston, you know, they have Comcast and RCN and who knows who else, because they have enough demand. And, you know, I think even a town like Arlington, which, I don't know how many, they're probably 15 or 20,000 people, you know, they have two cable providers, but there's enough density there to justify it. But for us, you know, the chances of, you know, people coming in to wanna compete with Comcast here is probably pretty low. There's, the bigger threat is the other technologies that are out there, because people are going to Hulu and Netflix and Amazon to get their programming, and they're dumping Comcast TV for that reason. And this is just the TV agreement, right, the video.
So think of it this way. Let's go to a different utility. Eversource,
Yeah.
okay? We tax Eversource for their poles. Who do you think pays that tax? Do you think Eversource actually pays that tax? No, you pay that tax.
The whole thing's ridiculous.
Unless
And
you
we
don't
end up
want
like-
unless you
we
don't
end
want
up with
electricity.
litigation and-
So
Right.
what I'm saying is, so we
Yeah.
charge Eversource money
Yeah,
to put a pole.
yeah.
They then charge you, the homeowner, to pay the tax, so then Eversource can then write us a check.
So then I'd ask, why do we charge that tax if it ends up being like some hidden extra charge for people to pay?
Again, do you honestly think they're not going to continue to charge it? They're just going to keep it.
It's a bigger.
That is
Right,
more of
well-
an abstract
Well,
question.
it comes down to even charging corporate income tax, right?
Mm.
We all pay that in every product and service we buy, because they build that into their business model, and they factor in what profit margin they want,
I know,
and.
it's insane, and the whole world costs us 10% more because people love their credit cards. So
But
they're
it-
all
but
people
it's-
that
but
pay
it's-
cash,
but
it
it's
costs,
any-
it costs more.
But it's it's any service at all. I mean, whether it's electric coming in your house, the propane that you have delivered to your house, it's
I don't
all the
wanna
same
get too
thing.
far off.
No,
on
but
that.
what I'm saying is,
that's-
so
This
all
one
we're
just
saying
seems
is
very upfront, like in that whole thing.
so
was
what
the
I
question
but what
of-
I don't want to see is us charging every person in town, because we don't want, for basically money that we didn't take from the cable company. So the people who are using cable, that have the access to the, you know, the service, the online, the being able to see the public access channel, all of that, because we don't want to just charge them, the people that are getting the service. We're going to charge everybody.
Kinda like the schools, whether you have kids in the school system or not.
Right.
Yeah.
But instead, John, it would just be absorbed through other.
And
There's always gonna be.
but the thing
an
is, and I'll let you know,
absorption.
and what they're going to do is they're just going to take that $2.73 that they're charging me a month that we're giving to the town, and they're going to move it and go, oh, your service, your plan went up $2.73 a month.
Then they'll
They're
say,
not,
"We ain't
because
re-signing."
my bill's not going to change. I'm not going to see a $2.73 savings. They're just going to take that money, put it somewhere else, and they're going to make an extra $2.73 a month.
At the end of the day, it's like a standard thing. It's just a bigger, more, you know, just doesn't seem right type thing to me.
Yeah.
But I would like all of the money to go towards our communications. But we had already spoken about that, and that'd take a warrant article, right?
It's going to take a warrant article
So-
because, again, that's taking, right now, we have a certain amount of that revenue that goes into the general fund.
Which benefits the whole
everybody.
base, right?
It benefits
Even the
everybody.
people that don't get cable.
Exactly. Which is the same thing as far as upgrading here for Zoom.
I don't know, Sean, I kinda like
Yeah.
your thoughts.
So I would like it
So-
all to go into that communication,
I-
but that'll be addressed.
It's
in-
been questioned whether that was even legal, what was going on.
So,
And if
yeah,
it's going in-
I didn't
well,
see
put this way, if
anything
it-
in the RSA, that was referenced, that limited what we could do with the revenue.
What about in the contract with?
There's nothing in the so the contract only deals with, we're gonna give you a certain percentage of their revenues, right? So they generate so much revenue from subscribers in New Ipswich, we get a 2% of that back. Now, the way we do, I don't know that we need 100% diverted to just video communication. I don't think we ever
Well, if we're gonna
use
make
that
the
model.
argument
Right.
that the people that don't use cable shouldn't be taxed, like in order to support like the communications and the cable, like that cable aspect, why are we giving a benefit to people that aren't utilizing the service and paying for it?
Makes
Right.
sense to me, Sean.
Right? So
But
you just gotta make
whatever
sure,
it is.
so every year spend the money, because what we ended up with is an extreme surplus
Mm-hmm.
that wasn't being used at all.
Right.
Yeah.
And that would be my concern is that if it was devoted just to supporting video, even if we started, paying a couple of people, part-timers to come in and help with,
I think we'd be able to use the funds, right?
well, it would be, offsetting, right?
Yeah.
So offsetting revenues in a way, depending on how we did it, we'd have to, put it in the budget somewhere.
Yeah.
But you'd have some offsetting revenues. But even at the current rate of 2%, I don't think we'd go through $28,000 a year doing that.
Even if we use that money to hire part-timers, in the event that Ron stops recording for free?
Oh, he has
Well,
a stipend.
Sure.
Well, you got a
Yeah,
stipend.
so-
That's right.
So, my concern is, now is the time if we want to adjust that franchise fee. We're at 2%, do we want to go to 3%? Do we want to leave it the same? And then take the Warren article and try to reverse, or reapportion, how much goes into the general fund versus the video fund?
So that video fund, what type of fund is that? Is that a capital reserve?
It's not a capital
Is this-
reserve fund, it's, I don't know if it's set up as a revolving fund, or not.
But
I'd
it's-
have to ask Carly.
but basically
if it's set up.
It's used for the, video that's, it's one of those things that I don't, with it being that, I don't think we could use it to like upgrade the cable for the, land use offices. But you could use it to upgrade the cable for that office.
Mhm.
Now, if you upgraded everything and that was a benefit, I don't know whether that's how that can work or not. You probably have to read how it can be used, but
But that can all be changed through Warren too.
If
Like
the
to bring
voters
it
are
up
willing
to-
to change it. If the voters aren't willing to change it and they like it the way it is, then you're stuck with the scenario you have now.
Yeah. you're stuck with 2%
Right.
and the percentage going the way
Right,
it is.
now if you make a decision to bring in, my suggestion is probably to raise it to 3%. And, gonna be a small increment on anybody's cable bill, but it will give us the additional money, because right now, even with the money we've accumulated over time, the equipment hasn't been upgraded for about 8 or 9 years, and we're looking at a couple of quotes ranging from 22.5 to 24.5 to get to the latest equipment. Now, the new equipment, new software is gonna be very powerful in a lot of ways by going, because we're on version 5 dot something, going to version 9 dot something. I guess my hope would be with the extra capabilities that we get, because there's an awful lot, a lot of new features in there that would allow for more community programming, community bulletin boards, to keep people wanting to come back to not just necessarily Comcast cable station, or, you know, our new high def station, but I think that would also feed into, you know, a program that includes our Facebook page and our website. And all of those start to become a better tool to communicate with the public. Now, if we do the upgrades, I think we're gonna have to at some point, because, you know, where we are now is not gonna be supportable, so we're gonna have to make an upgrade at some point.
Which we were talking about doing like a tiered,
Right, well, that's, the
Upgrade,
tier is 22.5 versus 24.5, you know, I mean, so we're.
oh, so there was no real tier
There,
to it.
it's not like we can back out a
I
lot
thought-
of,
I didn't know if we could start at 10 and then like add to it, like
yeah,
more in a year.
it doesn't sound like that in talking with them. I mean, we're, you know, we still need to go
Yeah.
back through it, and kind of pick it apart to see, you know, what would be more of a mandatory investment now.
Mhm.
And I tried to make them build it so it would be a building block approach. So give us what we need now, something we can build on later if we choose not to do it all now.
Do you have any idea when you might hear back from them, like on that?
I do, I've got the two quotes, right? So I have the quote for about 22.5, if memory serves me, and the original quote for everything was
So
about 24.5.
that was the building block? just
That was the
two-
building block.
Okay.
Now, whether I can go back to the 22.5 and start asking them what else can we take out to, you know, bring the cost down? You know, maybe there are some other pieces he can pull out of there and still make us functional. What I don't wanna do is have us take a short-sighted approach,
And not have functionality,
or not have the ability to expand later.
yeah,
And, I mean, we need to understand the options, and maybe we decide we don't wanna pay any sort of price premium for expansion later. We're gonna go with a basic solution, and we're gonna hope we're gonna get another 8 or 9 years out of that before we have to make another major upgrade. So, I mean, those are the things that have to be discussed, you know, with the vendor to see if that's, you know, feasible or not.
that's what
The other side of all of this, of course, is the Comcast business side, because anything that we do is also gonna require, an upgrade to our internet connection, which I think we need here anyway. That's another discussion, because right now, I think we have, trying to remember what the Comcast business rep said. I think our current, internet service is 100 megs, and 25 megs, right? So 100 megs download, we can only do 25 megs upload. So for what we're trying to do, and honestly what we're looking at, is we would need to upgrade that service. What he told me, and we didn't get into pricing, was if we wanted to improve our bandwidth here, the police station, the fire department, DPW, wherever we wanted to do it, would require, using fiber instead of bringing it in over copper. And we didn't get into pricing, but if we wanted to do like 100, for example, which is probably gonna be adequate for us, or the next jump, I think, next tier was 300, which might be overkill for us. Now, if there isn't a big price difference in those services, you know, we'd have to make a decision of, you know, whether to go to 300 now. And the reason for that upgrade would be, is having a video on demand capability. Right now, we upload to YouTube, and we don't broadcast live. The new equipment would give us live broadcast capabilities. And if we did a video on demand server, then we need some bandwidth for people to be able to access our videos. Right now, you know, they click on our website, they're actually going out to YouTube to get the videos. We do archive them here, but once they're in YouTube's hands, YouTube doesn't necessarily have to keep our full library out there. They own the content at that point, and they can delete at will. We always have, Ron tells me we always have our own copy back here, so if they delete an older meeting from 2017, we can probably still pull it up here if we needed it.
pricing on like that aspect
Uh,
yet, or no?
I have not gotten any pricing on what the internet upgrades are.
And is that all kind of wrap into like why Jen's desk is
Well,
here? Or,
Why Jen's desk is here?
yeah.
Well, the only reason Jen's desk is here is we actually have a wiring problem in her office. And Debbie used to experience some issues, but this time she down. And of course, we have one internet connection there. Goes into the phone, you daisy chain off the phone for the PC.
Yeah.
So it's a single internet connection, runs both devices. When it goes down, you lose everything. You lose the phone, you lose your computer's internet capability.
Because you did say early on Monday, like the whole office experienced
So,
some type
well,
of
we,
outage,
so
right?
so we had, some issues because on Friday, Greg came in and installed the new 48 port Ethernet switch.
Yeah.
Right? Because the 24 port, we thought was the cause of some of our internet interruptions, based on what he could tell was his diagnosis. It was completely full anyway, all the ports were being utilized, so we had no expansion capability, so we purchased a 48 port. So now we're a little over 50% full down there. And on Monday, we experienced some problems, so though, Greg was here, he and I were here Friday, and it looked like everything came up okay on Friday, we ended up having some issues on Monday. So Jen's issues were complicated by her wiring issue, but we also have an issue with the wireless access point that's in the mailroom next door here. That wasn't functioning correctly, and the server, it looked like the server was down. It wasn't down, it just lost its connectivity through the wireless connection. So what we had to do is I went in and unplugged the wireless access point and plug the Ethernet cable directly into the NIC card in the back of the server, so the server could see connectivity. And the server's critical because that's where DHCP from that assigns IP addresses to all our telephones, to all our computers. It also runs our security system. So when the server's down, we're out of luck.
Yeah.
So we got that back up and running. We still had some phone problems and computer connectivity problems. Susan had some. Debbie was down for a bit. Greg was doing some things remotely. Steve Bolo and I were doing our thing in the building. As of yesterday, Roger was without a phone. His phone was active, but for some reason it couldn't get an IP address. So we had Comcast tech support on the line, and they said it looked like the phone devices were working, but what was happening was the DHCP aspect of the server wasn't able to assign IP addresses to Roger's phone for some reason. Greg rebooted the server overnight. Roger's phone was working this morning when we came in, so we got that back up and running. But in all of this, Steve, Greg, all of us, the wiring in this building is abysmal, and we constantly have issues. Because it was never done correctly in the first place, not labeled correctly, not punched down correctly, not put into a patch panel. So we're, the three of us are down there, trying to figure out which wire, right? Which wire that's plugged into the switch is Jen's wire, right? And you can't tell because nothing's labeled and everything's a home run, right? So you go right from the RJ45 jack, and you can see here, it comes out of the floor.
Yeah.
Into the computer, and that same cable is just like a long patch cable that goes all the way down to the switch. It doesn't come to a patch panel, and then you use a patch cord to go from there to your switch. It's not a wall jack here where you use a patch cable to go from here to there. They're not labeled. If she had a standard, if we had a wall outlet there and she had a wiring problem, go out and get a new patch cable. You can buy them for a few bucks. And as long as the wiring in the wall is still intact, we could have fixed her problem and had her up and
So is there, like, what's the proposed resolution?
So honestly, the proposed resolution is this building needs to be rewired. So we need to have a contractor come in, we need wall jacks. The way we have some of the wiring, punched down there, and we're not sure. We're not even sure if some of the wiring that's punched down, it's either on 110 or 66 blocks. We don't even know if those lines are actually active anymore, or whether they're just old wiring that's there. Some of it might be old telephone wiring that we're not using anymore because we went to IP telephony solution, so we're using an Ethernet connection to connect the phones down, not your old standard, low voltage, telephone wire.
Yeah.
So a lot has changed technology-wise, but the wiring down there makes it almost impossible without coming in and toning out every line to figure out whether it's good or not. And then if it's bad, I just talked to Steve, he's gonna come over here at 9 o'clock tomorrow, and he and I are gonna have to drag a new Cat 6 line, through the crawl space up into that office. We're gonna use the existing line as a pull string to pull the new cable through, but then we have to terminate RJ45s on either end.
There might be some wire there in the Green Center.
So we actually have,
Well,
so I have a spool of wire downstairs, so I have whatever's left in a box of Cat 6, 1,000 foot, I don't know how much is left in the box, but I'm hoping there's enough in that box to do the run that we need to do. It's probably
Get her
50
hooked
feet.
back up.
And get her hooked back up so I can move her back to her office. But, we had to put her in here so we could connect her phone and her computer and make her productive today. And so we spent, probably half a day yesterday and a few more hours today, trying to get her functioning and fix some of the other problems. And, one of the other things that we're concerned about, the wireless access points that we have now, we know we're having throughput problems from time to time with them. Greg says they are old, they're probably due to be upgraded to newer technology. They're inexpensive, wireless access points aren't terribly expensive right now, so my thought is if we're gonna wire that, right now we have 2 wireless access points, one in the room next door, the other one is downstairs in the basement. Not an ideal place for it as far as coverage, although we do have the emergency management office and conference room down there. My thought is, usually you put those wireless access points in the ceiling, we would probably want one in this room, quite frankly, just because of the nature of the business that's conducted in this room, especially if we're gonna continue using Zoom and other video conferencing capabilities.
Yeah.
Having a good wireless connection is gonna be important. I'd probably put one, out in the open space, outside of my office there, in the ceiling somewhere. And then maybe one downstairs, maybe in the EMD conference room, maybe in the hallway down there, so that you can have coverage down there as well.
Which all that sounds great, and I
Yep.
agree with it, but in hearing you talk about it, like, is this something that you should be, like, even like running that wire tomorrow, and, like, is there anybody else that can do
So-
those types of things?
So, no, is that, it's right, so Greg, I thought Greg was gonna come in either late yesterday or early today to address her issue. And we had a miscommunication for some reason, he thought she was all set. Now he's telling me he's not gonna get here till Thursday or Friday, I can't wait that long. She needs to be functioning, and Steve has a lot of technical capability, I have some, I have enough grunt
What about Mark?
capability to drag wire, drag cables.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
like
Isn't-
Mark, could
isn't that
Mark work with
Mark's-
Steve, or?
Well, Mark works Mondays and Tuesdays. Now, I'm not saying that if I called Mark that he wouldn't be willing to come in, on an off day to help, because if he has the flexibility, he will do pretty much anything we ask. The issue is I just need the problem fixed, you know what I mean? It's one of those things, it's a Band-Aid, but I need that Band-Aid to get her fully functioning. I think And then, like I said, the other issue that Greg can deal with when he comes in on Thursday or Friday is getting that wireless access point in the next room and the server, you know, hooked up again the way they were, or, you know, if necessary, eliminate that wireless access point for now until we come up with a better solution. But I'm concerned about throughput, cause we do use a lot of wireless in this building as well as hardwired.
I don't wanna get into a situation where, cause you're already taxed, you know, there's a lot of things on your plate, and like you said, the grunt work.
Right, no,
You know,
I agree, but
yeah.
honestly, at this point, you know, we
Okay.
have limited human resources, and I don't think it's gonna take us that long to do it,
Mhm.
and I just wanna get it done. I just want, I don't want this.
Yeah.
I want her productive, and, if that's what it takes to get a simple line in until we can come up with a more permanent solution, because honestly, you know, my guess is, and we're talking different scenarios, to get the equipment out of the basement and get it up into a better environmentally controlled area,
Yeah.
where and I talked about this with Greg today, Steve, Ron a little bit, is putting the equipment rack in Ron's video room. So it's up here in a better climate controlled environment
Yeah.
for the electronics.
So I guess, like, where I'm at is,
Yeah.
like, I would like to see proposals of
Right.
solutions,
So-
cost amounts, and then
Well,
like,
that's the
something
thing.
to actually, cause I
So-
know that there's a problem,
Right,
and then even just more so,
so,
please just encourage you to reach out to Mark and some of the resources that we do have around us, and maybe Peter has a guy that he could throw over here for a couple hours to work, like, help on some of that, like, grunt work stuff.
yeah, well, tomorrow, like I said, tomorrow is hopefully, like I said, a quick Band-Aid to get us back to normal.
'Cause I know you have the tech knowledge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the bigger solution, you know, I've got a company in mind. Greg is gonna forward me some information. He said that a company that he works with that did the wiring at Hutter did an outstanding job.
Okay.
So he's gonna forward me them, and then I'm gonna try to find a third one. We're gonna have to identify how many locations we want.
Yep.
The other thing that Greg and I agree on is piggybacking the computer off of, or daisy chaining the computer off the phone.
Yeah, I don't
Not a good
know
solution.
any of,
Yeah,
like,
so,
any of this
so
stuff,
that
so
means we
I'd
really should
really-
have 2 lines where we have 1 now.
I'd like to see it, like, as a
And-
full,
Yeah,
like,
and
picture
we will.
proposal from
and,
everybody.
and
So,
Yep.
not to interrupt, but,
Yep.
we signing an extension, are we hoping to make a decision
second.
before
yeah,
July?
Ron, did you have any input on the franchise agreement? Cause I saw you came in when we started talking about it.
Not, I must say, Scott handling it all.
Okay,
so,
um,
but yes, all of these things are interrelated, and
yeah,
It seems like it would be wise to sign an extension so we have the right amount of time to review it.
I agree.
Alright, so we'll sign the extension.
alright. Somebody wanna make a motion?
Motion to sign the extension, so we have until September 18th to figure out the Comcast franchise.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Alright. They have 5 spots for selectmen there, we only need to use 3 of them.
Okay.
Just wanted to mention that at the meeting you mentioned that if we delay too long in decision making, it won't be till 2023 that they can commit
For the HD channel.
as opposed to 2022.
Okay,
What was that, Steve? That was something with the video?
The HD channel, if we drag our feet too long, it'll bump it out to 2023 to get the HD channel.
I was, he said 2023. Where did they get that information from? The guy told, Comcast guy said 22.
Unless we delayed the renewal too long, and then it's gonna be into another budget cycle for him, and he's not gonna be able to do it till
I'll follow you.
2023.
Okay.
Well,
I'll wait.
yeah, I'd like to see like the contract, like the new contract from them anyways.
Okay. And what are we gonna ask for percentage? That was the other question. Do we leave it at 2? Do you wanna go to 3?
I wanna go to 3.
Any input?
Not really,
No.
no.
No, cause I'd like to leave it at the 2, but then just get the 100% over to the communications aspect.
I would lean more towards that way of thinking, and if we need more money in our general fund.
So then
we'll
if,
tell the
so
people
then
to
if
do
the
it.
people vote not to switch it to 100%, we're still stuck at 2% with no increase in our ability to fund that program.
And even at 3%, and they choose to go 100%, then it's just that much more that goes in.
To pay for what sounds like a large sum of upgrades that need to be done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know, I guess 3%,
Put that way.
yeah,
You put it that way.
yeah, 3%, but
Motion
How
to,
much money
motion,
is-
to- it's $2.18 on my bill.
How much is in the fund right now? That we
So-
would be
so
able to
right-
commit to
So right now, it's just a little over 25,000
in the fund.
in the fund. And we've agreed to pay him a small stipend every year, which is,
And I'll be broke once this is done.
and if we're gonna
Yeah.
solicit additional help, we may have to pay an hourly amount to
Yeah,
do
but
it.
then like I said, like Ron just said, the upgrade on his system alone taps that account.
Yeah, it'd be down to 0.
Motion to move the franchise percentage to 3%.
is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, I'll have him construct the contract with 3%.
So are you gonna next year get a warrant article so we can get more money in the video account?
Yes,
We're
sir.
gonna try. It's up to the voters after that.
It's up to the voters, but I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll vote for it. If not, we'll shut them down.
Playing hardball over there, Ron.
All those people,
The money to operate.
that's all those people that just go down and check no on everything anyway, you gotta watch out for.
Okay.
Alright. So, do you have anything else on the Annette State Forest timber stuff, or?
No, other than what we discussed, I think we're good. We'll just have to reach out to them and see what, if they are gonna use Hubbard Pond to any extent, what kind of bonding they're willing to put in place.
Okay.
And then get back to you.
Alright, so I guess old new business, I'll let you kinda drive, like go through those.
Okay, so, you wanted to have a discussion on the budget reports, because
Yeah.
we're still trying to get the numbers in the system. And honestly, I thought I'd have that done by now, but trying to find, it's gonna take probably 2 or 3 hours to get that done. Cause you have to do it line item by line item, and warrant article by warrant article, so, it is a very manual process. Thought I was gonna get that done, yesterday, but when I came in, I ran into some technology issues that kinda made my day go in a totally different direction than I was expecting.
Which I can appreciate, and this
Yep.
is just a general
Yep.
comment
Yep.
of, like, we need you to do, like, the budget.
Yep.
Like, numbers, like, that, you're the only person that can do that.
Well,
But
I'm not, but that's another discussion.
Okay, right now, I guess
Yep.
traditionally it's been done by a person in your position, from what I understand.
Yes,
And pulling cable can be done by virtually anybody,
gotcha,
so that's just, and I'll just leave it at that.
fair enough.
So I would like, cause we need to know where everybody's at with their budgets and,
So, I mean, So we are able to produce reports that shows their expenditures. If they take out the town report and see what their starting line item was, do the math, they know how much they have left. Now, it's great to get a report that will do the same thing for them and show the percentage left and where they are year to date. But everybody has the capability of using a calculator and doing a quick calculation to figure out how much of their each line item is done. So it's a little extra work on everybody's part, but for people to throw up their hands and say, I don't know where I am, as far as my year-to-date expenditure, sure you do. You know, we
Well, those are reports that are generated each month, right?
Correct.
For the most part.
correct.
And if you're saying it's just gonna take 2 or 3 hours to do it,
Yep.
but then everybody else has to go through,
I'm-
think about all
I'm
the
not-
hundreds of hours.
I'm
that-
not disagreeing with you, but I'm
Yeah.
just saying that there is
And
an
I get what
immediate-
you're saying,
immediate
too.
remedy for those that are overly concerned.
Okay.
I think you saw the email earlier on Wes's request and Tim's support to
Yeah.
let him roll over his remaining vacation and PTO days. Obviously, because of the staffing issues, he's not gonna be able to use them.
Motion to allow, Officer Volheim to roll his vacation and PTO time to past July 1.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Let's see, we already talked about the MII professional services agreement. We talked a little bit earlier on the situation across the street, and, I'm gonna be following up with Jeff on that, hopefully tomorrow, to see where we stand, but, a lot of those are really state-driven issues at this point.
Okay.
You know, alteration of terrain and, the intent to cut issues.
Yeah.
The other things that I had, in there, in fact, John's got it open in his
Yeah.
book right now, is the payment schedule we got from the school district today. And that is, tab 5 or 6? No, it's 5.
5, it's underneath that one.
And,
Just lift up the one paper and there's another paper behind it.
yeah, it's right behind
Yeah,
Tim's
it's like a book,
letter.
it's like a book,
Yeah.
look at that.
Well, no, I was going to, usually the topics have tabs. but
Well,
not
well,
this.
trying to lump some of the old and new business into one tab.
Yep.
Keep it up, John.
So,
Well, like I said, I responded to Scott when he sent this. I called this in March, that this was what was gonna happen,
Yep.
that people are gonna see a significant increase in the school portion of their taxes unless something between now and July 1 changes. So unless the state makes a call between now and July 1, significant increase in taxes on the state, on the school portion.
The school won't just absorb it in their budget?
No, they didn't, they only proposed the one budget, they didn't propose one without $1.75 million missing, so, the taxpayers of New Ipswich have to make up that $1.7 million.
yes, I'm gonna have to sit with Roger and Carleen and do some projections out. Obviously, we were struggling at $776 a month. So our tax rate actually dipped about 50 cents a thousand this year. So what that's gonna mean from a revenue standpoint, now granted, we got a little bit of a reprieve.
We got what, 3 months plus a rebate, so hopefully that'll
So-
carry us a little bit.
But again, considering the next tax bill going out in the fall, by the time we get the revenues in, I'm always concerned about a shortfall and needing to do some interim borrowing. So we're gonna have to do some cash projections to see exactly how that might pan out, because I'd rather know that now than be up against against the wall in
Yeah.
October or something.
Having done them the last time that the town took a tax anticipation note, you can normally get a pretty quick turnaround on those. I
Yeah,
think,
about 3 weeks is what I.
yeah, I think that's it. I think we got it, when I did it, when I was the banker that did it, I think I got it, about 2.5 weeks, I got it turned around pretty quick, so.
But yeah, just, I mean, just for perspective for folks listening, the town has to write the check, to the school, once a month, and the new payment is gonna be $790,686 and change every month. So, just so you know where most of your money going, that's a big check to write every month.
Right, and you said, as you said last time, the last amount we're writing was $776,000.
Right,
So.
Which
we
was
went-
too much.
which was too much.
Which is too
right.
much, but we were paying it and struggling to pay it, and then, it came in at $790.
Yeah,
Yeah, so it's been quite the jump from what we should have been paying to now what they're asking for is.
Right.
well.
Right, so
so-
776 was too much, and we ended up overpaying by 3 months.
Well,
So
and
imagine
also-
what it was supposed to be, and then it
Yeah,
jumped.
and also the apportionment between Greenville and New Ipswich has changed, and more of the burden is on us.
Mhm.
I'm assuming they base that on student
Yes,
population.
they did.
So, so Greenville has fewer students, and therefore more of the burden falls to New Ipswich taxpayers.
What was the reason for the shortfall? What was that state aid based upon?
That is based on enrollment. So they
Oh,
take
enrollment
your
drop.
current year's enrollment, and they say, this is how much you get per student.
Yeah.
So this year, there was less enrollment because of COVID. People pulled their kids completely. They went to homeschooling, they went to all the different things. So there were less kids enrolled in the school right now. Now, a lot of these people supposedly have said they're gonna send their kids back post-COVID. Supposedly. There's no guarantees, because they may find out, you know what, my kid's doing great at home, and
Which I
that's a
know
mess.
few of them.
Yeah,
Right.
Private
Yeah.
school.
so
whatever.
private school, whatever it is. So, so the schools asked the state to go back to the 1920, the 2019-2020 school year and use those numbers. The Department of Education said no. We're using 2021 numbers. So that put a shortfall of $1.7 million. And then on top of that, right now, just so everyone, it's in your mind, there is a state voucher bill on the table that would then say that the school, whatever the apportionment is per student, so let's say a round number of $5,000, which is way under, but just say $5,000. So if you homeschool your child, currently that money still goes to run the school system. If you're homeschooled, you send in a request to the school has to write you out a check minus certain fees and give you that check so you can homeschool your child. So that shortfall could be even more if that bill passes. Not sure when it would go into effect, but just, so these are things that are going on right now. That if people, I think it's SB 1 or SB 3, SB 3. But anyway, so, but yeah, right now, so the people of New Ipswich, the taxpayers of New Ipswich, when they get their fall tax bill, on the school portion, will see a significant increase on their taxes to cover a $1.7 million shortfall in school revenue. That's why I
Do
tried
you
to
think
tell.
that at the point where the state's saying, no, we're not gonna give you the money based off of old numbers and, you have
What's
to
the
use your
department?
current, Department of Education, the state,
Yeah,
that they would try to look at themselves of how they can run more efficiently, right?
yeah, because that money's going
Right now,
somewhere.
it's like coming,
again, it's one of those things. No
So
one
it's-
ever gives you the money
Well,
back.
it's the same thing, cause that money that, they get from the state comes from other
Taxes.
taxes, so it's not like,
Yeah, the money's sitting
everybody's
somewhere.
still paying for it, it's just they hide it, which goes
Well, it's
back
a,
to-
I mean, but this all goes back to the fact of, I mean, you going way back, what, the 90s, the school district up north sued the state, said that you're shorting us on aid. You're saying, this is what it costs us to educate a kid, this is what the state's giving us. And the Supreme Court, or this court, said, you're right. The state's never changed a number, which is why now that I think there's somewhere around a dozen school districts, including Messinic, that are in the current court case, still trying to get that same money, saying that, you're saying that we need to spend X amount per kid to properly educate them,
Mhm.
but the state aid is only X amount, which means everything else, and so it's a matter of
Yeah, if they're forcing this other like these regulations,
right. This is the money, and they're not doing it.
yeah,
So, but I mean, we end up with the same thing here. I mean, the state constantly balances their budget on the backs of the municipalities.
yeah,
But this one is horrendous because the money's there. The taxes have been collected.
yeah,
I mean, I'm sure there may be some shortfall because less people traveled, so you get some of that off of gas taxes, things like that. So in that year, there's probably some shortfalls, but the money's there. They
Yeah.
just chose not to give it. So the money's sitting in their coffers.
Yeah.
But like I said, I tried to warn this in March.
yeah,
I started warning it in April.
yeah.
I warned it in March, and
Brian still has his sign up warning people.
yep, it's still. And I saw that the other day. Well,
So
he can
your warnings didn't go
yeah,
unheard by
he can
everybody.
update it because when that tax bill comes out, I actually tried to look for his email today so I could email him and let him know that we were right. And
Yep.
so
Alright,
that's where it sits.
Alright, got a couple of more.
oh, you do?
I do.
Alright,
Um,
you can't do pen notes during the meeting.
Sure I can. I can keep adding to my list,
Mhm.
when I remember.
Alright,
And at my age, remembering is often a challenge. So, just want to alert you, we are having a problem with our cat loader. Peter's off getting estimates on what it might cost to get repaired. And depending on what those costs are, he and I were having a discussion about whether do we plow more money into this one, I think he said it's a 2005, or once again, do we look at replacing it with a later model piece of equipment? We just bought one last year, I used one to replace the Komatsu. The good news is that the Cat still has a lot of value to it, so we got almost $20,000 for the Komatsu. I asked Peter to look into what the potential value is of the Cat on the used market, so we could kind of balance that with the potential of replacing it if we had to. So hopefully within the next week or two, we'll have some numbers, but right now we're down to the one loader.
No, I know under certain things like with repairs, if it's busted or whatever, we are able to use the fund balance to make repairs. Not the revolving fund, the fund
Right.
balance.
Yep,
But we're not
Those
able to use a
emergency
fund
repairs,
balance,
yeah.
right, we're not able to use a fund balance to purchase.
right.
Okay.
So,
So that's just something.
right, so,
yeah.
so it would, come out of the capital reserve fund to
Purchase.
purchase. The last thing I wanna bring up, and I did send you some information on this already, was the transfer station and being able to use credit or debit cards up there. The service getting that done is relatively easy and inexpensive. It's getting an Ethernet connection there that we can use. So I have to look into that a little bit more. It looks like to be PCI compliant for the credit card processing, we might be able to use a encrypted wireless signal, which would save us money, because then we just have to be able to shoot the signal from the top building to the lower building, and because Ethernet already exists in the top building. If not, if it has to be hardwired, then it would require probably trenching. Peter doesn't want to do an overhead wire because of the trucks going in and out of there with the dumpsters, and would prefer to have it underground. Now, obviously, we could do a lot of the work ourselves, but it would still be an expense to do that. So I just wanted to throw that out there. We're kind of working through some of the details on how to make that happen.
No, just on another option, just curious, again, where it would fall in, and I don't know whether our current company handles something like that, but one that would run through cell signal instead, like on the attachments that go, that run on the phone, cell signals.
We can inquire about that, to use something like a square type
Right.
solution.
Yeah.
So,
But I do know, like with the wireless, I know I've gone to a couple places, lots of restaurants use them now with the wireless handhelds, where they just
Yeah.
come to the table, you put your card in, your receipt prints out the top, but
Yeah.
it all goes to one.
yeah, as long as we're PCI compliant, that's
Yeah.
all we have to really worry about.
Okay.
And the rest of it is, like I said, fairly straightforward and inexpensive.
Awesome.
Alright.
Great.
That's all I have.
Cool. You have anything, John? Jay?
Of course I do, but I don't know how many I can bring up. Now we got people waiting out there. Just a couple items. You guys probably saw in the emails, we got the energy audits, so we're ready to push forward with,
Speaking of that,
trying to get the fire department heat for the winter.
I'm glad you brought that up, because Doug sent over a revised scope of work.
Oh,
I
nice.
haven't had a chance to compare it to the original scope he sent, so I can't really speak to it tonight.
Okay.
It
Thank
seems
you.
We'll
like
talk about this next week.
my experience is that it takes a long time to get it from the day you talked about it to the day it goes in, and we're already looking at winter coming at us, so
Right.
we better get moving
Well,
on it.
yeah, so put this on the agenda for next week, Scott.
Okay. Yep, will do.
Alright, then I have, on the RC club, Scott had sent us emails, with the insurance response of the
Yep.
various guidelines that would have to be met. I talked with the guy, he's like, oh yeah, I think our insurance would cover all of them concerns, so we're waiting to hear from DES.
I am. I have not heard back from DES.
And I believe in your email you said Peter had some reservations, but all of it, I think, in my opinion, it all has to first see if it's even legal, then you
Yeah.
work out each
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Peter just has concerns about having traffic up there.
Mhm. It's not a big club. But in any case, we don't know if it's feasible.
Okay.
But I was glad to see some progress on that. Then I just wanted to address, Alan had sent an email regarding the police station buildings. I thank you for your input on that. And
When did that come up?
what was that?
Last week, late last week?
I don't know. But I read through and I understand what you're saying. I don't know if you want it talked about on the public meeting or.
Just voicing an opinion.
Yeah, and is it, would you care to voice it here or summarize it or not that important? Appreciate your input then. That's all I had.
So, what I have, Mr. Doyle gave me these requests for, information. Did you say you had asked for this previously or twice? So this is our, written and was handed to me.
Okay.
I'd like to see those, fulfilled.
Never.
take a look at it, and I'll, give you a call tomorrow and see what kind of timeline you're thinking. Alright?
Yep.
Alright, that's all I have for this evening.
Um,
John Schromm,
motion to go into non-public under RSA 91A3 2